Hello my beautiful book besties, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you decided to click on this video because today we are doing a little bit of a book haul. So I am just going to be completely transparent for a second and say that I have had no motivation to film at all lately. I don't know if you've noticed, but even my uploading schedule has been a little bit wonky. I used to upload on Sundays every single week without fail, and now I am just kind of leaning into my creativity when it strikes. I feel like I thrive during the fall and creating fall content, but I also thrive in the summer, but thriving outside in the pool and spending time in the outdoors, and I feel like I just don't have the discipline to sit down and film videos right now. So I'm kind of in that lull right now where we are in between spring and summer and I don't really know what kind of content to make. So I was like, you know what? I just did a giant unhaul, and these books are not to replace all of the books I just unhauled. I've had some of these books since my birthday and I have not done like an official book haul since the end of January with you. So I thought, why not do a little bit of a book haul today? Now I have hauled more books than just this since the end of January, but a lot of those books I've bought or mentioned during like weekly vlogs or other videos, so I don't want to be too repetitive here. So these books I have not mentioned in any videos, so hopefully it's a little bit more of a fresh book haul and you're not like, okay, she's talked about this book a million times or she's read it already. So these are brand new books that I've gotten since February, so this is like, I guess you could call like a quarterly book haul, but hopefully none of these books you've seen before. Maybe some of them there might be a little overlap, but hopefully not too much. I have been very intentional with my book buying this year. I am actually focusing on buying editions of books that I've already read and love. I'm actually now part of Illumicrate and Owlcrate, which I have been so excited about, so I'm going to share some special editions with you. But I am just so picky about what I buy. If I read a book, I don't love it, it immediately goes on Pango, and I just don't want any more clutter in my life. But these books do fit on my bookshelves. They are happily living there. I plan to read them sometime this year, and yeah, I'm just excited about them. So let's just go ahead and start the book haul. So the first book that I am so excited to own, I read this book last year, I believe, or did I read it at the beginning of this year? But I absolutely fell in love with Belladonna, and as soon as I saw these covers as the UK editions, I immediately knew I was going to sell my US editions and buy these, and I am so happy that I did. Unfortunately, Belladonna isn't coming until next month. They're doing some type of reprint, and then of course Wisteria we don't get until August, I believe. So for now I just have Foxglove, which is totally fine with me because this is the one that I'm on in the series and hope to read sometime soon. But can we just appreciate, this is just so beautiful. The purple vibes and the creepiness just portrays this series perfectly. I literally cannot wait to get the other two in this series to see them all together because I think they're just going to be absolutely beautiful. In case you don't know about Blackwell's, you can actually go on their website and it's all UK editions and it ships free to the US, which is very dangerous. I have a whole wish list on there. I could go absolutely crazy with all their editions that they have. But in case you didn't know about Blackwell's, there you go. Definitely check them out. That's where I got this one and where I plan to get a lot of my other books. The next book we have is one that I'm so excited about. It was my first ever Owlcrate young adult edition, and I feel like this was such a good first one to start out with. It is Your Blood, My Bones by Kelly Andrew. You may recognize that title because in the regular edition it's green, but then there's two people holding hands and there's like vines kind of going up them. This is stunning. This is really creepy. We have green sprayed edges and the back says, "You are of the earth and the earth is in your blood." Look at how beautiful this is. I cannot, you guys, like the mushrooms and the green, like this is just an Olivia book. I will say I'm not the biggest fan of the artwork inside, but it is kind of like a creepy horror gothic romance book. This is the end pages, which is very dark and spooky, but I feel like this book is very underhyped right now. There's a girl that's doing a final walkthrough of her childhood home, and she makes a shocking discovery in the basement. Peter, the boy she once considered her best friend, strung up in chains and left for dead. bed. That just sounds really creepy, but really good. So I'm hoping to save this one for the fall time. Next, I have my second owl crate, which was May, and I had no idea it was gonna look like this, but this is stunning. Song of the Six Realms. Can we just appreciate like the muted kind of pink tones of this book? Not only the cover is beautiful, but we have these rose gold kind of coppery pages, and they're just so incredible. And I think this blue for the naked cover is a very interesting combination, but I think it complements the pink really well. It's so beautiful. I'm obsessed with this. The end pages are also stunning. This is just, it is giving wintry, obviously. I'm like, should I save this book till winter? But it's also too beautiful and I want to just read it right now. Our main character is very musically inclined and she's supposed to serve, I think, essentially like royalty. And this is a romantasy. So this whole book just kind of intrigues me. I feel like it's very different from anything I've ever read, full of lush Asian inspired culture. And this is also by Judy Lin, in case I didn't say that, who also wrote Magic Steeped in Poison, which I have. I bought the day it came out and I still have not read it. I'm hoping to love this one and then be able to go back and read that other series. Next, we have one of my most prized possessions that I bought on Pango. Yes, it was a little bit expensive, but life is too short to not own the pretty books that are your absolute favorites. And last year, Study in Drowning made my top favorite 5 books of the year, and I was so sad that I was not a part of Illumicrate at the time, so I couldn't get a hold of this book, and I was just devastated. Absolutely stunning with the green bookish edges, but the cover design itself is just beautiful. This is my absolute favorite part, is the academic kind of objects that we have on the naked cover. Not only that, but the end pages of these two just makes my heart melt. So this is now one of my prized possessions. Next, I have my first ever Illumicrate adult that I got. That is To Cage a God by Elizabeth May. I haven't seen very many people talk about this one, but these sprayed edges just absolutely make up for the cover that I'm unsure of. The naked cover is also so shiny and so beautiful. I feel like I'm going to end up soiling this with my fingers because it's so white. It is honestly giving like Aladdin vibes to me. And then of course we have the end pages, which are stunning. I love that we're going with the blue and purple theme, and this one is definitely making me think of winter. I love a good sister dynamic, and that just sounds like a really unique magical system with weaving special powers into their bones. So I'm honestly super excited to read this one because it could be like one of those hidden gems. Okay, last but not least of the Illumicrate books that I've gotten so far, it's an absolute showstopper and I am so happy to have this. I only hope that the story is just as good as the way that this book actually looks, and that is Fathom Folk by Eliza Chan. And this book is nothing short of beautiful, and the edges, and there's like this dragon or some type of water monster, I'm not really sure, but this is just so pretty. I am super excited to read this one this summer. Next, we're going to go through my fantasy books, which obviously is the biggest stack. You guys know I own mainly fantasy at this point, and I will forever be a fantasy girly. One book that I snatched up during Amazon's recent sale is Fire Endless by Rebecca Ross. I own the first one, A River Enchanted, in this paperback edition, but I don't have the second one. I am challenging myself this year to read a lot of my favorite authors' backlist books, and this is one of them that I didn't have. So I feel like this was kind of a no-brainer during that sale. I also have 10,000 Stitches by Olivia Atwater and Long Shadow, which is number 2 and 3 in her Half a Soul Regency fairy tale romance series. I fell in love with Half a Soul. It was incredible. It was cozy. It was just very innocent and fairy tale like. It was a very simple story, but it was just told so incredibly well. I would love to own all of her books as well. Next, I have The Strange Case of The Alchemist's Daughter, which is actually a book I have been really wanting for a long time. I'm buying this to save it for the fall because I feel like it's going to be a little bit eerie. I love anatomy, and I feel like this could possibly have the potential to be kind of similar to that other series called, I think, A Curious Beginning. I am just in this whole historical mood. I've been watching historical shows, and I feel like this is just gonna fit the vibe perfectly for what I've been in the mood for. I just know it's gonna be 5 stars, and I think that's why I've put off reading it for so long. But my friend Rachel has continued to talk about this series, and she has fully convinced me that I am going to love it, so of course I had to buy it. Next, I have The Invocations by Krystal Sutherland. Apparently, from what I'm hearing, this is a very underrated book. I have her other book, is it Hollows something or other, and I've seen mixed reviews, but I have really high hopes for this one. 3 girls, 1 supernatural killer on the loose. But I feel like this is going to be another perfect book to get me in the mood for the fall season. Next is a book that I have mentioned before. I think I've put it on TBR videos, but I'm really upset that I haven't read this. I feel like this is the perfect formula for me to give a book 5 stars. It's called The Hedge Witch of Foxhall by Anna Bright. A prince who hates magic, a prince who has spent his life hiding from it, a witch who's determined to protect it. I know this takes place in Wales, which first of all just makes me want to pick it up immediately. There's obviously like a love triangle happening, and we love a good like cute cottagecore witch is what I think we're gonna get in this book. I'm not seeing very many people talk about it, which makes me sad. So I would love to be one of the first few that's like hyping this book up and telling everyone to read it. Next, I have The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen, and the reason I bought this is because I loved Fate Inked in Blood so incredibly much. She creates such a lush atmosphere, and the characters just feel so alive to me, and I've heard that this series is just amazing. So I basically am just going off of what I've heard. This is giving kind of Throne of Glass vibes because it's about a warrior princess that's like being trained. So we're just gonna see where this goes. My next book is one that everyone and their mother has been ranting and just raving about, and I've seen it all over Bookstagram, I've seen it all over Booktube, and I was like, okay, I can take a hit. As a fantasy reader, I am going to explore this series, even though I'm a little bit skeptical because some of these like indie published romantasy authors have come back to bite me, and people hype them up so much, but then they weren't my favorite. So I'm crossing my fingers this is going to be one that actually is a favorite. That is Spark of the Everflame by Pango. All I know about this one is it is about a girl whose mother disappears, and I think she ends up going to like the dark underworld or something. But several of my friends have just flown through the series, cannot get enough, and I'm just scared to start this because once I start, I cannot be stopped, and I will probably binge read all 3 of them. Another author that I feel like is super underrated, even though I haven't read a lot from her, that is Catherine Arden. She came out with this book, The Warm Hands of Ghosts, at the beginning of the year. This is another one of those historical books that I'm very interested in. Ever since I read Divine Rivals, I feel like I've been searching for the next Divine Rivals. I don't know if this one will be it, but it does sound incredibly intriguing. In this hauntingly beautiful historical novel with a speculative twist, where a rumor has been spread that there can be time travel or something like that, and this girl goes on a hunt to find the hotel, therefore hoping to find her missing brother. This just sounds like a fun, interesting twist. It just sounds like something unique, but I feel like this is going to be a book that I will easily get sucked into. Next, I have Leigh Bardugo's The Familiar, which I am very scared of. I'm not gonna lie, I am so scared to read this. This one I've heard is like Mexican Gothic. It's creepy and very cutthroat, but honestly, I don't even know what in the world this is about. I believe this takes place in Spain, where a servant girl is known to have magical powers, and I think people are searching for her. I literally have no idea. I tried to read the synopsis and it wasn't making a whole lot of sense. A couple of my friends friends have said it's very slow, but once you get to the last fourth of the book, that just immediately bumped up their rating because it was that good. So I'm hoping that I'll have a good experience with this one as well. Another book that is kind of along the lines of Your Blood, My Bones is Where the Dark Stands Still. This was actually a Barnes & Noble young adult book club, and honestly I think I'm on the hunt for another Belladonna series. Just like Divine Rivals, I am searching or aching for just like a gothic paranormal romantasy type of situation. In this book we have our main character who is searching for like a mythical fern flower in this demon infested spirit wood, and she makes some type of deal with this demon or something. I've heard it's kind of like, I don't know if it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, I can't remember exactly, but it sounds beautiful. This whole story sounds beautiful. There's a crumbling manor, there's a monster, there's woods, like it just sounds like a gothic cottagecore book, and that's what I'm craving right now. I also have The Tainted Cup, which I have not been seeing very many things about, but I was genuinely super excited to read this. I feel like it's going to be an adult fantasy that isn't necessarily for everyone, but I'm hoping it's the book for me. A Holmes and Watson style detective duo take the stage in this fantasy with a mysterious twist. I love Sherlock Holmes, and if it's like an urban fantasy, sign me up. I'm immediately on board. I cannot wait to see what this story holds. Speaking of adult fantasy books, I have 5 Broken Blades that just came out, and I just heard that the second book is going to be released in January, which is so fast. Also, can we appreciate how beautiful this book is? You guys, this is not a special edition book. If people are going to continue to put out such beautiful books, I'm literally gonna go broke because I don't know how people do this. I mean, look, I cannot get over, I can't. I'm speechless. I have no words for how beautiful this book is. I've heard that this book is very much like Six of Crows, which means that this book has very big shoes to fill, considering I love Six of Crows so incredibly much. This is about 5 different characters who all have different personalities and backgrounds who are trying to assassinate the king. So that sounds like a great heist or a great adventure to me. Honestly, we're getting a lot of romantasy books right now, and I feel like sometimes you just want a good action-packed, crazy, like really fun book. So I'm hoping that this will be a good palate cleanser. This next stack of books I have are kind of just random. We have a graphic novel, a classic, some romance, some mystery thrillers. I have one graphic novel, which I'm kind of surprised with myself because I'm obsessed with graphic novels, but I don't really buy them that often. But this one came out earlier this month. It's by Vera Brosgol, called Plain Jane and the Mermaid, which obviously sounds like the perfect summer graphic novel. I loved Be Prepared. If you have not read that one, definitely read that one. That's like a perfect kind of summer campy vibe. It says, Jane is incredibly plain. Everyone says so. Her parents, the villagers, and her horrible cousin who kicks her out of her own house. Determined to get some semblance of independence, Jane prepares to propose to the princely Peter, who might just say yes to get away from his father. It's a good plan, or it would have been if he wasn't kidnapped by a mermaid. For being a middle grade book and potentially exploring the topic of body image, which I've heard is in this book, even though this topic is supposedly handled very well, I'm very interested to see how it's handled in a middle grade graphic novel. Next, I have Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, which is from my beautiful friend Elizabeth. She actually sent me and a couple other friends books from our wish list that either had pink or bluish green on the cover to let us know that she was having a boy or a girl baby, and she has sent me this copy, and I was so excited because these new like puffin editions are actually created by Rifle Paper Co., which I love. I have yet to actually read Pride and Prejudice, but I'm very excited to now read it from this beautiful edition and think about my friend every single time. Next, I have a Christian nonfiction that came out earlier this year that I have been reading and loving so much. It's called Practicing the Way, Be with Jesus, Become Like Him, Do As He Did by John Mark Comer. You guys will probably recognize that name from the Ruthless Elimination of Hurry that I read last year, and it ended up being on like my top 10 favorites of the year. And this one is about following Jesus, essentially what the title of this book is. But the overall theme of this book is him talking about, are you a Christian? or are you an apprentice of Jesus? And talking about the difference between those two. And I've never looked at it that way. So this is just really opening my eyes to a lot of things. So if you are in the market for new Christian nonfiction, please let it be this one or another one of John Mark Comer's books, because he is just absolutely incredible. Next, we are going to talk about a couple romance books, and one of them being a book I never thought I would buy and have in my possession. That is Magnolia Parks. Do I hate this cover? Yes. But do I have any regrets buying this? No, because I am so curious why in the world this book has just completely taken over the internet. I need to know why, and I may have a potential vlog coming. But stay tuned, because that's all I'm going to say about this one. I also have The Rule Book by Sarah Adams. No, I have not read the cheat sheet, but I've heard that this one is even better than the cheat sheet, and it follows two characters from the cheat sheet in the second book, and I'm the type of person that loves those little Easter eggs. Like, I thrive off those little cameos. I don't know much about it, but obviously we have a football player, so yeah, I'm not one that's super into sports romances, but the few that I've read I've actually enjoyed, and if this is Sarah Adams, you know I'm already gonna read it. Next, I have Happily Never After by Lynn Painter. This is her newest book that came out, and I read Better Than the Movies and really enjoyed it, so I am very interested to see what her adult books are like. Being in the wedding industry for a decade or over a decade, I feel like I've seen it all in weddings, I've heard it all, until this story, because apparently these two are like hired objectors, where they go and they attend these wedding ceremonies and they tell people, no, you're not fit, I object, and then they like crash people's weddings, which sounds incredibly funny to me. So that is why I bought this one, and I think it's just gonna be a really good time. Next, I have another one of my book of the month picks, How to End a Love Story. I've been seeing this one around a lot, and it's really piqued my curiosity. I am very skeptical with romance, other than like my favorite romance authors, but I also want to not be scared to venture out into new romance authors. I've heard this one is very sad. I love when there's more of a plot going on versus like just the steamy romance stuff. So even though I'm very scared of this one, I am going to give it a try. Next, I do have two mystery thrillers, which, shocking, I do not have more than two because I've been so into thrillers this year. I have Killer Instinct, which is #2 in the Natural series. I ate up The Naturals in less than 24 hours. It was incredible. It was just very bingeable writing. If you like Criminal Minds, you'll probably like this series. The end was absolutely insane. It felt like a completely different book, a completely different pace. I've just been really enjoying this. Very fast paced. They are kind of long for mystery thrillers, but I've just been eating this series up. Next, I had to buy my next Frida McFadden book because I literally, quite frankly, cannot get enough of Frida McFadden. I have The Locked Door. This book is about Nora, who is a surgeon, and her father used to be a serial killer and keep people in their basement with a locked door, and one day she gets a patient who has the same type of injury that her father used to inflict on other people, and now she is scared because she's been trying to stay under the radar, but now she's scared that someone else knows who her father is and is going to come after her. In typical Frida fashion, I feel like this is going to be a very fast-paced story that I'm going to just completely inhale in 24 hours. Last but not least, we're going to dive into some ARCs and finished copies that I've gotten from publishers lately that I wanted to highlight and mention because I am so very grateful, especially to Orbit, who has now put me on their fantasy list, which I'm so excited about, obviously. Starting us with A Letter to the Luminous Deep, which is another like historical type of romance that I'm very intrigued by. A romantic epistolary novel that will take you to the depths of a magical sea and to the limits of the imagination. So this whole book is written in letters, back and forth. This takes place in 1002, so I'm a little bit skeptical this is going to be way over my head, but I am very interested to try it because it sounds like the perfect summary book. Next, I have The Ministry of Time, which apparently I believe is already being made into a show, I think. I've never heard of this book until it arrived on my doorstep, but now I think it was even a book of the month choice, so now I'm really intrigued by this one. The Ministry of Time is an ingeniously beautifully imagined, hilarious romp through time, space, and the human heart by an exhilarating new voice in fiction. But it sounds really action-packed and really fun. There's like a romance, there's a mystery, there's time travel. I mean, what's not to love? I also have A Feather So Black, which I was so excited to receive. This has been on my anticipated like romantasy release of the year. This book needs to be hyped more. I read the first 2 chapters and immediately was like, yep, this is a 5-star book. I've had a couple friends read it and say this is their top favorite book of the year. I've heard that this is kind of like Akatar, but the main girl is like a changeling. It is very much Holly Black and Hannah Witten, so it's dark, it's mysterious, and I feel like this is just gonna have all the vibes that I love. Next, I have a couple finished copy books, and one of them I was so excited to get is Better Left Unsent by Leah Lewis. I actually tried to read her Christmas/holiday book. Even though I didn't love that one, I'm excited to try something completely different because I really was invested in the writing. This is about a girl named Millie who writes email drafts about how annoying her boss is at work, and then one day there is a power outage and a server outage and whatever outage, and all of those drafts get sent to her boss. So yeah, you can imagine how embarrassing that is, aka her face here, and maybe there's a romance, maybe it's just a contemporary. I mean, I'm assuming it's a romance if there's a guy back here. I just know that her stories are very tender, very heartwarming, and I'm excited to see what she's about. Next, I have The Collected Regrets of Clover, which sounds very quirky, but right up my alley. From the day she watched her kindergarten teacher drop dead during a dramatic telling of Peter Rabbit, Clover Brooks has felt a stronger connection with the dying than she has with the living. After the beloved grandfather who raised her dies alone while she is traveling, Clover becomes a death doula in New York City, dedicating her life to ushering people peacefully through their end-of-life process. The whole witnessing her teacher die in front of her sounds super traumatic, and the back even says, what's the point of giving someone a beautiful death if you can't give yourself a beautiful life? I mean, I just feel like this book is gonna break my heart, make me sob, but in the best way possible. Next, I have A Short Walk Through a Wide World, which also showed up on my doorstep, and I had never heard of it before, but it has been compared to Addie LaRue because we have a girl who has this deathly ill disease where if she doesn't travel around, she actually will get very ill. So she goes on all these adventures, and this disease starts when she's a child. You guys know how much I love Addie LaRue. I'm due for another reread, but I feel like this could fill the gaps in my heart that I have for Addie LaRue and how much that broke me. She journeys the globe, she's trying to outrun her mysterious curse, and I'm sure a lot of interesting things happen along the way. Alright, my beautiful friends, that is the end of this little book haul. Well, I guess I don't know what you consider a small book haul, but I've definitely done bigger book hauls than this, but I am hoping to do more quarterly book hauls and kind of update you guys on books I've gotten from publishers and fun things like that that I don't mention in my videos. So I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you are looking forward to reading any of these books yourselves. Thank you for hanging around during this time where I feel like I'm in a creative rut, and I feel like who doesn't love a book haul? So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thank you for stopping by, watching this video, and supporting my channel. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next video.